Today we are wrapping up Chapter 6. We'll be discussing Learning Objective 7, Analyze Management of Inventory using the Inventory Turnover Ratio and Gross Profit Ratio. The first we will be discussing is the Inventory Turnover Ratio. The Inventory Turnover Ratio shows the number of times the firm sells its average inventory balance during a reporting period. The ratio is calculated by taking cost of goods sold and divided by average inventory. The amount for cost of goods sold is obtained from the current period's income statement. Average inventory equals beginning inventory plus ending inventory divided by 2. The more frequently a business is able to sell or, quote, turn over its average inventory balance, the less the company needs to invest in inventory for a given level of sales. All things equal, a higher ratio indicates greater effectiveness of a company in managing its investment in inventory. Another way to measure the same activity is to calculate the average days in inventory. This ratio indicates the approximate number of days average inventory is held. The formula for average days in inventory is 365 divided by your previously calculated inventory turnover ratio. To take a look at these, we'll be looking at two different companies, Best Buy and Tiffany's. Now, this is like comparing apples to bananas. It's not the same companies. They don't sell the same things. So if you look at Best Buy, you'll see that Best Buy had a cost of goods sold of $29,963 and an average inventory of $4,957.50. So the inventory ratio is 6.0. If you take 365 and divide by 6, you get a number of 61. This tells you that on average, inventory is sold in 61 days at Best Buy. Tiffany's cost of goods sold is $1,512 divided by $2191.50, or 0.7 times. 365 divided by 0.7 tells you that Tiffany's, however, sells inventory on an average of every 521 days. If you compare the two, we'll see that Best Buy's turnover ratio is much higher, and then its average days inventory is much lower. So Best Buy is able to sell inventory more quickly than Tiffany's. If you think about it, that makes sense. Best Buy sells commonly used household items like electronics and appliances, while Tiffany's has very expensive jewelry that doesn't get sold as often. So it makes sense for Best Buy's turnover ratio to be higher. Another formula that is used is the gross profit ratio. This is another indicator of the company's successful management of inventory. It measures the amount by which the sale of inventory exceeds the cost per dollar of sales. The formula for the gross profit ratio is gross profit divided by net sales. How do we get gross profit? Remember, gross profit is net sales minus cost of goods sold. The higher the gross profit, the higher the markup a company is able to achieve on its inventories. So again, looking at Best Buy and Tiffany's, we see that Best Buy has a gross profit of $94.40 with net sales of $39,403, giving them a gross profit ratio of 24%. Tiffany's, on the other hand, has a gross profit of $24.90, net sales of $4,002, gives you a gross profit ratio of 62%. This tells you that Tiffany's is able to mark up their items at a much higher rate than Best Buy. Inventory turnover ratio indicates the number of times the firm sells average inventory during a reporting period. Gross profit ratio measures the amount by which the sale of inventory exceeds its cost per dollar of sales. And that is the end of Chapter 6.